You're watching Canadian Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. From Toronto, Ontario, I'm Samia Sayed. Welcome to the show. Now coming up, we have an interview with Mr. Mike Schreiner, the party head of the Ontario Greens. But first, let's take a look at the headlines. The RCMP did not request Emergencies Act during Ottawa protests. Ontario MPP accused of Islamophobia and sues his party. First U.S. Muslim superhero becomes a cover star at auction. Hundreds mourn slain Palestinian journalist Shireen Akleh. And now the details. The RCMP did not ask for the Emergencies Act to be invoked during the vaccine mandate protests in Ottawa. This is what RCMP Commissioner Brenda Lucki has told the parliamentary committee investigating the invoked law. The commissioner says that they were consulted about the idea, but the government made the final decision to enact the measure. Lucki acknowledges the act was helpful to remove the protesters. The parliamentary committee is examining the Liberal government's use of the Emergencies Act that was invoked on February 14th for 9 days. The act requires a committee to investigate the use of such extraordinary powers. Hamilton MPP Paul Miller is suing the New Democratic Party with a $1.3 million lawsuit. Miller seeks damages for discrimination, breach of contract, and conspiracy. He alleges the NDP had discriminated against him for his age and marital status. An email from the NDP provincial director to a local media source says, quote, "We're confident that the party and our leader did the right thing, and that Mr. Miller's claim will go nowhere." The former NDP politician was ousted in March after the party alleges he harbored troubling behavior, including Islamophobic and racist views. Miller denies these claims. This lawsuit comes as the Ontario election campaigns are well underway. A copy of a comic book featuring America's first Muslim superhero was up for auction at this weekend's Comic Book Select auction. Kismet Man of Fate first appeared in Bomber Comics issue number 1 in 1944. In a 2014 article about the character, scholar A. David Lewis said, Kismet bears recognizing and reclaiming as a Muslim superhero. He noted the uncommon subtlety of the character in a time of ham-fisted, gimmick-dependent heroes. Kismet's story is set in the heart of 1940s Europe fighting Nazi forces. After his debut, Kismet became the cover star for the first time alongside Wonder Boy on Bomber Comics number 3. Hundreds of Palestinians from the town of Salat al-Dahr southwest of Jenin in the northern West Bank bid farewell to Al Jazeera reporter Shireen Akleh. The funeral will be held tomorrow from the presidential headquarters in Ramallah with the participation of Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas. According to the Palestinian Health Ministry, Akleh, 51, was shot dead while covering an Israeli raid in Jenin, while another journalist, Ali al-Samoudi, was shot in the back. Qatar-based Al Jazeera network accused Israeli forces of deliberately killing its veteran journalist. Palestinian Prime Minister Mohammed Shtayyeh called for forming an international committee to investigate the killing. That's it for the news. Now, the June Ontario elections are fast approaching, and as part of our series covering the election, we have with us Mr. Mike Schreiner, the head of the Ontario Greens and MPP for Guelph. Thank you, Mr. Schreiner, for joining us today, and welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be on. Looking forward to the conversation.
In that case, Mr. Schreiner, I'll jump right into it. I've come across many people who will not vote for the Green Party because they seem to think that their only focus is on the environment and that's solely it. Do you believe that this is true?
No, absolutely no. I mean, the Ontario Greens were the first party to put out a housing affordability strategy, which some media outlets have called a masterclass plan in delivering the housing affordability strategies people need. And I would argue that's the top issue in this election is how do we ensure that people can afford to own or rent a home in the community they love close to where they work. We're the first party in Ontario history to put out a standalone mental health platform to show how we can make access to mental health services and supports available through OHIP. And of course, we talk about and advocate and lead on addressing the climate crisis. And we do it in a way that ensures that Ontario is ready to be a global leader in the fast growing new climate economy, because we want to ensure that Ontarians have access to new career and better job opportunities. And so I like to say to folks, Imagine the Ontario you want, because the Ontario Greens are ready to work with you to build that Ontario.
And I'll come back to affordability in just a bit, but I'd like to expand a little bit more on environment. What environmental changes do you propose that you would like to bring up?
Well, first of all, I think we need to really protect the people and places we love in this province. You know, the Ford government is literally proposing to pave over our children's future, which will make life more expensive, forcing people into long, soul-crushing, expensive commutes. It'll pave over the farmland that feeds us. It's so vital to addressing the rising cost of food prices. Pave over the wetlands that clean our drinking water and protect us from flooding. We have a plan that says, let's protect the nature that protects us. Let's address the climate crisis in a way that ensures that Ontario is a global leader in the new climate economy, providing new career and job opportunities for people, and in particularly young people. We've put out a plan that 60,000 young people would receive free college tuition and a guaranteed employment through an apprenticeship in new climate economy jobs, so we can ramp up our ability to reduce climate pollution and improve people's health, while at the same time improving the economy by creating better jobs for folks.
And that's all a good point. But one concern that people seem to have is that making some changes for the environment means that the budget might see quite a drop. And since there is this concern with affordability, especially with a housing crisis or with jobs or the pandemic, how is it that we can adopt these environmental policies, especially when they seem so different from the path we're already on?
Well, first of all, the housing affordability crisis has been getting worse and worse under the three old parties. We need new solutions to this old problem. And one of the best ways to do that is to build communities where people can live close to where they work. They can live close to where their families are and the people they love, so they don't have to have these really expensive long commutes just to be able to afford a home. I mean, you shouldn't have to drive until you can qualify for a mortgage. Let's build homes that people can afford in the communities they live, which then means that they can reduce pollution. We also have a plan to help you retrofit your home so you can save money by saving energy and reducing pollution at the same time. There's a number of ways we can help address environmental concerns and cost of living concerns. For example, it costs about $5 to fill up an electric vehicle. Meanwhile, people are spending over $100 filling up gasoline vehicles. Our plan will make it the average person be able to afford an electric vehicle, so they can save so much money by getting big oil out of their wallets. There are so many ways in which we can address the cost of living crisis that people are experiencing, while at the same time addressing the climate emergency.
Thank you for that answer, Mr. Schreiner. Now, usually when we conduct these interviews regarding the elections, we ask people why they think they would make good premiers. But from what I hear, you are not aiming to be premier. What is your goal this election then?
Well, first of all, I think I would make the best premier out of the three other party leaders on offer. I have the experience, I have the vision, I have a commitment to doing politics differently, to make it about putting people before politics, about having honesty and integrity in politics. And that's precisely why I've said, you know, to go from one green seat to forming government will be a challenge in this election. I acknowledge that. So what I'm trying to do is elect more Greens from communities across Ontario so we can maximize our influence at Queen's Park. You know, so many people have said that the Greens punch well above our weight and have had an outsized influence at Queen's Park on issues that improve people's lives. And so I want more Green MPPs so we can even do more things for folks. And one of the things I'm really pushing hard for right now is to get all four parties to support the Our London Family Act to combat the rising incidence of Islamophobia in this province, because nobody should have to worry about, you know, where they go to worship or whether it's safe for their family to walk down the street. And our proven ability to collaborate across party lines is what I think is needed to get important legislation like that passed with all party support, because I think that sends a strong message to the people of Ontario that we are not going to accept Islamophobia in this province.
And And on that note, I'd like you to expand on that a little bit more, as we know that the London Family Act did not pass in the Ontario legislature. What will the Ontario Greens be doing to help it pass?
Yeah, I was deeply disappointed that the Ford government sent the bill to committee and never brought it out of committee. And I can tell you that both publicly and privately in meetings at Queen's Park, I was pushing hard for us to bring all four parties together to make any amendments to the bill that need to be made, but to ensure a swift passage. Because I think people are tired of empty words about standing up against rising levels of hate, specifically Islamophobia in our province. We need to back those words up with action. And I want to thank the National Canadian Council of Muslims for bringing forward the idea of the Our London Family Act. I spearheaded the first bill in Ontario history that was co-sponsored and passed into law by all four political parties. I'm doing everything I can right now to work across party lines to have all four parties support the Our London Family Act, because I think that's the strong message we need to send to people across this province, that we will not accept hate, we will not accept Islamophobia, and we will take legislative action to put those words into action.
And finally, Mr. Schreiner, in our last few minutes, can you please speak directly to our audience, to Canadian Muslims, on why they should vote for you?
Yeah, I think the Ontario Greens have put forward a bold, ambitious plan to address old problems with new solutions, addressing the housing affordability crisis, addressing the climate emergency, making sure mental health and other healthcare services are available, accessible, and affordable to communities. And I just want to quickly end by giving a shout out to the Muslim Society of Guelph, where I've done so much work in helping them with their events like building bridges, because I think it is so important to bring people together across faith, across racial and ethnic lines, to build the strong Ontario that I know everybody wants. And Ontario Greens are there to work with you to deliver on that.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Schreiner, for joining us today and telling us a little bit about the Green Party platform. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have left, so thank you very much.
Thank you, and have a wonderful day. And I encourage all Muslims to participate in the Muslim Get Out the Vote effort and go vote on June 2nd.
You were watching Canadian Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. That's it from our Toronto studios tonight. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more Canadian Muslim content. Stay safe, and until next time.